All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming this evening. And I know some of you have been here since 4 o'clock or 4:30 for the TiEcon preparatory meeting, etc. Thank you so much for staying back. And the number of people that we have here and some of the people that I've seen after many, many years here today. So that shows, the aura of Sudhanva sir. And I've always gotten confused whether to call him Sudhanva by his first name, Sudhanva ji, or Sudhanva sir. So I keep oscillating or changing every time depending on what the situation is. So today I think I should call him Sudhanva sir. So he doesn't need any introduction. And honestly speaking, even though we do have an introduction about him lined up right after this, because there are a lot of new faces here, or younger faces, I should say, and it's a pleasure to have him address us. Many of us may have heard him many times before in different forums and on different occasions, etc. But it's always a pleasure to listen to his story, and particularly in the context of raising angel funding and taking his company from where it was, literally from the grassroots stage to the IPO. Right? It's obviously a journey, a long journey. It's a marathon, and none of the entrepreneurial journeys are a sprint. It's always a marathon. And particularly, therefore, in this particular context of him taking his company to IPO, I think it's very fitting that we get to hear from him. Where did he start? How did he start? And therefore, all of the youngsters, and including me, we can learn from how do we raise angel funding and take your company, make your company scalable. So that's all I wanted to say. So I want to give more time to Sudhanva sir, and so that we can listen to him. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Now it's time to know our guest. We know Sudhanva sir very well, but as formality, we'll have to have the introduction of the guest. May I request Kishan to do so?
A very good evening, all. In the startup world, the real equation is not just valuation. It is vision multiplied by trust. And no one understands this equation better than our esteemed speaker, Mr. Sudhanva Dhananjaya. His schooling started from demonstration multipurpose school, then with Mahajana First Grade College. Did his BE in instrumentation technology and MTech in Master of Engineering and Management from Sri Jayachamrajendra College of Engineering, Mysore. He did his MS in Electrical Engineering from Voxter Polytechnic Institute. He is the founder and managing partner of Queen School of Design, co-founder and secretary to Excel Public School, Mysuru, and chairman and managing director of Excelsoft Technologies Ltd. From the culture heart of Mysuru to the classrooms across the globe, Excelsoft Technology proves that world-class innovation doesn't need a metro address, only vision, values, and relentless execution. On behalf of TiE Mysore, we heartily welcome you, sir, for this today's evening.
It's a very humbling experience for me personally to be here and to have this opportunity to conduct this discussion with sir. Me being one of his angel investees, it's a especially humbling moment for me. I've talked to sir. I know him not as an investor, but I see him as a mentor. Investor is just there as the starting point. So, sir, we can have this free-flowing discussion because with sir, everything always happens naturally. So even I have not prepared my questions. Sir has also not prepared the answers. But I would like for sir to start by sharing some thoughts on the topic, which is from pitch to investment, the angel investor founder equation. We'll hear your thoughts for the first 5-10 minutes, sir, and then we'll have a discussion, and then I would appreciate it if the audience also could participate in this discussion today, because it's a mixed audience. Sir asked me today afternoon what is the kind of audience. So there are students, there are people who might need angel investment, there are people who can be angel investors and beyond. So this is a complete mixed house, and like Bhaskar sir mentioned, it's a full house. So looking forward to this discussion, sir, and your opening remarks.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks to TiE Mysuru for inviting me to do this address. I know many of you, most of you, for many years. And if you have heard me speak on any of the occasions earlier, I may sound like a broken record where I may be repeating myself quite a lot. However, the subject is really interesting. I will try and gather my thoughts from my own experience as an entrepreneur, and then it can be interactive, so I can answer specific questions, which is still a secret you have not shared with me, which is fine. I'm a first generation entrepreneur, started in Mysore, and being part of TiE Mysuru means a lot to me, and look forward to continuing to be associated with TiE Mysuru. A great program coming up, and whatever I can do to support the program, Bhaskar sir, Bhaskar ji, I will be very happy to do that. It's interesting. The context I will use is I have a lot of young friends, individuals, teams who come to me looking for funding because they want to do a startup. The numbers are only increasing. 5 years ago, people who sought funding wanted to do a startup. Compared to in recent times, the numbers have gone up. That means there are a lot of them who want to be entrepreneurs, want to do a startup and hopefully grow the startup into a full-fledged business. I'm sure TiE has played a big role in this, because TiE Mysuru has played a big role in the Mysuru region, and TiE as a whole, as an organization globally, has played a role in encouraging entrepreneurship and via TiE programs, TiEcon and others. Most of you know that. So somebody who's wanting to do a startup, they want two things. They come and ask, we want to do a startup. They have an idea. You will have to validate the idea as a potential investor. And if they have a good idea, a good background, and if you are able to assess their capabilities, the conversation will go to how much money are they seeking and on what terms, etc. Plus, it should not stop with only money. As an investor, when there is somebody who comes to me seeking funding as a startup, it will be great if the investor can not only provide the money, but also bring in a couple of customers. Because we provide the money and then they start burning up the money, and maybe 6 months down the line they find their first customer, and they'll probably be ready to raise the next round of money. So it will always be good if an angel investor, is being an angel to wannabe startup, should bring in not only money, should bring in contacts, should help them win the first couple of customers, bring them a network. Network is net worth, right? So I look at the role of an investor in an investor to startup relationship as somebody who will bring in more than money. There should be that value addition. As a startup seeking investment, what are the expectations from an investor? I've invested not very profusely, but my last count, I've invested 21 startups so far. And in this journey, I've learned a lot. One is to what do I expect? What do I worry about in case of the investments that I've made? One is I expect religious monthly reporting, monthly update on how the business is going. It may be going up, going down. It's okay. All businesses go through tough times and good times. but being honest enough to report, provide the investor a true picture, a proper document, one meeting, a good presentation on where the business is compared to the projections they made. Projections are projections, and I think every one of us who have invested understand that projections, you may hit the projections, you may surpass projections, you may fall short of projections. It depends on so many things. It depends on the market dynamics as well. So, as an investor, I would expect regular reporting, honest reporting, honest projections, and a clear, an absolute, simple, direct, clear definition of their business. So many times, as an investor, when I ask them about what their business is all about, I would like to get a sense of that business in 3 to 5 minutes. Then you can go on to a half an hour pitch or a 1 hour presentation, etc. So this is, basically you should remember that I've not done lots of investments, but in the limited number of investments I've made, this is what I expect. Most importantly, what I worry about is compliance and governance of the companies I've invested in. If they are non-compliant, or if they fail to file GST returns, or don't do TDS properly, are not punctual in filing returns with ROC, etc., the investor also is liable. It's not just the promoters of the business. So that worries me, because you invest and you want to know at the end of the month and at the end of the quarter that they've complied with everything as per the regulations of the law of the land. And that is a liability which no investor wants to carry, whether it is an angel investor investing in a startup or a VCP who's investing in a growth stage company, Series A, Series B, whatever. And it's the same thing I am experiencing now as a listed company, that anchor investors, retail investors, all of them want to know what's happening. And some of them want a weekly update. So I've ended up with a department doing only that full time. I pretty much do only that full time, talking to investors on a day in and day out basis. I know I was a little bit all over the place, but I'll let you streamline it for me.
Thank you, sir. But that was a really good opening remark, because it clearly showed what's running in your mind, which is what we want to know. So let's break it down, sir. You did mention about pitches and people having to convey an idea in 3 minutes. There are various jargons that have come up, and some of them good also, like elevator pitch, or it might be a 3-second or a 1-sentence business model, or a business model canvas, and things like that. Now AI being there, everybody would have great pitches, everybody would have excellent presentations. So when you are evaluating a pitch, what is running in your mind, sir? I mean, what makes you, because they say somebody makes a decision about someone in the first few seconds. So what is your mind thinking about it when you're listening to a pitch?
I can speak for myself. If I'm looking at a pitch, a PowerPoint presentation or a document, and if it is AI generated, most probably most of us can figure out that it is AI generated. Particularly if you start talking to the person on the other side of the table. When you start asking questions and you probe a little bit deeper and then try and connect it with what is there in the presentation and the document they've given you, you can figure out that this is AI generated, this is for real one.
Right.
So it's okay. I think we can still live with it.
Right. But when somebody is pitching, sir, what are the things that you notice? Because there are so many people who come and deliver pitches. There are so many students or entrepreneurs here who want to do a pitch. They've been trained to have good looking slides. They've been trained to speak well, to appear well. But is it just that, or is there something else that an investor looks at?
Conviction. If they're talking about building a product or getting into a services business, you test them, probe them if they have the conviction and the commitment. And you also want to figure out that it's not a short-term, pitch and run away, or pitch, make money and run away kind of a situation. I've seen a spectrum of different types of investments that I've made. I've made investments in a startup where you don't hear from the team for 6 months or a year. The next thing you know is they've all bought cars and built houses, and the money is gone. And then they stop reporting, and then you will probably have to work hard to even find them. So from there to startups who are religious and who really want to report. And it's okay if it is bad news. But still, I think that hygiene is important of reporting to them. So it's a spectrum. There are some who are very clean in terms of reporting and wanting to do the business that they actually pitched. There are some who will pivot from what they pitched to what they are. And I've seen some who pivot their business model 2 or 3 times. And every time they pivot, the probability of they succeeding and growing at a pace they promised comes down.
Right.
So initially, you want to see that they have the conviction, they have the commitment, and they are here for the long haul.
Right.
Not get some investment and then in 2 years sell and move on to doing something else. That's not the kind of business that maybe P's and VCs will invest in. But as individual investors, we should be careful in investing in such
Right.
mindsets.
Got it. So conviction, and being consistent with reporting is one other thing, and then having a very clear and a transparent process. Got it, sir. So now speaking on the other side of those who want to be investors, how can one become an angel investor? Because from what I hear from you saying, it's a lot of follow-ups. There might be a lot of ways in which they might not deliver, because at that stage they are at their nascent phase where there's not even a real valuation for their company. It's arbitrary. So everything is trust-based, if I gather that. So should an angel investor really spend a lot of their time on this exercise if they choose to be an angel investor?
It's easier when you know them. You know them prior to considering investing in their business. If you know them because they are a friend of a friend, they come highly recommended by a friend or a relative, there is some kind of a reliability then when you talk to them. But if it is a simple cold pitch where you don't know their backgrounds, you don't know the connections, you can't establish reliability, that's when you have to do the due diligence. Whether it is an individual investor, obviously institutional investors, most of us know, will do a very thorough due diligence before they invest. But as individual investors, sometimes we can get carried away, and I've done that. I've gotten carried away sometimes because they tell a nice story and you want to invest. You think it's better than investing in mutual funds or with a little bit of a risk. If you are able to make a 30% return instead of a 14% return, why not? Kind of. So, but then these are investments which always are accompanied by risks.
Right.
You have to mitigate the risk. As an individual, it's not easy. As institutions, there are teams. It evolves. In my case, I started investing as an individual.
Right.
Found it very hard to monitor what is happening with these businesses because some of them don't proactively report. You have to probe. And then get some help we set up a family office kind of structure, build a team, get a company secretary, get a CA, etc. And then you can be more predictive in the more reliable in your decision making.
Right.
I think it evolves. As an individual, you can make more mistakes, but as a group,
Right.
you make less mistakes. And then you move on to, as we're talking about it, at some stage, you move on to investing in funds. It's safer. You go in as a LP and invest in a fund, who in turn will invest in companies, including startups and growth stage companies. But to evolve to that stage takes a good 5 to 6 years.
Okay. So these investors that you've been saying who have to take their own calls and then figure out as it goes, how did it start for you? So do you remember when you started angel investing, which was your first company that you invested in? Can you share some light on that?
The first company I invested in went bust.
Or
So
you don't want to say the name? then?
I don't want to tell the name, but it went bust because I didn't know investing. They didn't know what to do with investors' money, so it went bust. So every mistake you make, you become that much wiser.
Right.
And then the success rate is.
When was
has
this?
improved.
When was this first investment in angel?
5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from then on, whenever you've made an investment in a startup, in these 20 startups, is there a common theme that you follow on? I will only invest in this kind of a sector. Is that important for an angel investor, or it is sector agnostic? You just choose any startup.
I was sector agnostic when I started investing. Now I am sector specific because I need to understand the domain in addition to being able to invest. So specific sectors are more interesting to me now than agnostic investment.
Right. I'm asking this question because you mentioned that the startups who seek investment should not only ask for money, but they should also ask for other things, which means it might be guidance, or it might be customers, or it might be references. So if they have to look at an angel investor as a mentor, probably the mentor should be able to give them some advice or insights. We had a session from Mr. Ravi Shankar from Aim High where he said how not to be a mentor. That was a very interesting session. But is an angel investor really a mentor in that sense, or because anything beyond funds, is he still called an investor, or does he become a mentor? Does he become a guide? What are your thoughts on that, sir?
What do you think? I invested in you.
Sir, honestly, I've never. I mean, this. How do I say it respectfully? I've not seen you as an investor at all, sir. That is, I do take it seriously, though. I do submit my reports regularly and seek presentations. But I've always seen you more as a mentor, because in my specific case, I did do too many mistakes, and you were kind enough to mentor me out of all of that. The compliances that you mentioned, I did not even know the existence of PF, for example. And one of my other partners had registered us on ESI and PF, and I hadn't paid for 2 years, and then he got the notice. I didn't even check my post that came saying I had to pay. So then someone from Excelsoft called me and shouted at me, and then but sir didn't. So that's the journey. So in this sense, I've seen you as a mentor, and I remember my interactions with him initially, right? First time when I called sir at around 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night, I said, sir, very sorry to call you at this hour, but I have a doubt. And then eventually I realized that that's too early in the day for sir. It's not even afternoon at that time. So our discussions over the first 6 months where I really want to call out, sorry, I'm talking more than him in this segment. My initial mentorship journey with sir was we would start our calls at around 11:30 or 12 p.m. and it would go till 1:30 or 2 a.m. almost every single day without exception. 2 hours or 2.5 hours where I got to know everything about sir's journey, his outlook at business, his personality, and what makes him think. And then I've imbibed quite a lot of that. So for me, that is the equation with you, sir. But is it possible for every mentee? I was one of the lucky few to probably have that kind of an understanding with you. But for all other startups, I don't know what happened with the other 20. Were you able to be a mentor to all 20, or were you just an investor to them?
Yeah, it was mostly, and this was an exception. Because I've seen you as a young child, and
Right.
we connected at a different level. So
Right.
we spent a lot of time. And good to hear that it was helpful. But otherwise, I've been mostly an investor, not able to mentor, but able to bring connections, bring some first set of customers, as I said. Beyond that, to mentor in a different domain where I'm not there and I'm not good at. Not even mentoring skills. I don't have good mentoring skills.
Right.
So if somebody approaches me and says, "Can you suggest a mentor?" I will say, "Go to Sabrishan sir." So
Right.
that's my standard. So I always direct people to you. I said, "I'll invest, but if you want mentoring, you go to Sabrishan sir," because I don't have the mentoring skills. So yeah, it's a different thing.
Yeah. So then if somebody is keen on being a investor, angel investor, in addition to funds, then what else can startups or people who are pitching seek from them? You mentioned connections.
Yeah.
Is there something else they can add in their pitch deck? Because they don't have financials to add probably.
Yeah. As an angel investor, and as somebody who's seeking in angel investment, first time investment, you don't have a financial track record, right? The business doesn't have a 5-year financials or a 3-year financials with all the ratios and stuff like that, which investors look at. So there is an element of trust that connect has to happen between the investors and the investor and the investee. And that comes because of the absence of any prior financial track record. It's about how well they are able to articulate the things I said before earlier today. How well are they able to articulate? How direct can they be in explaining their business? How long term are they looking at? You want them to talk about what you want to be doing 3 years from now, 5
Right.
years from now. I know it's very difficult. If even after IPO, IPO is not end of seeking investments. That's I was talking to Snags. Said it's a rolling journey. Even after you've closed your IPO, investors will come to you and you may take investments. It's a continuous journey. So for me, every day I'm talking to investors, either investors who have already invested in me or continue to be interested in our journey. It's a continuum of sorts.
Right.
So a startup should realize that the journey doesn't end with the first deal, where you get the your first investor on board. They have to look beyond. They have to look. There are investors who are keen on an exit. They will say 3 years from now or 5 years from now, I want an exit. So you have to start thinking about how do you give them an exit? What does it take to give them an exit? What happens next? How do you get the next investor on board for your growth stage requirements, etc.? So I personally would like to always talk to entrepreneurs who can talk about 3 years from now at least.
Yeah.
It can be theoretical. You can argue both ways. You can say, how do you know what happens 3 years from now? there may be a tariff issue that may disturb your business plans. There may be some unknowns, some uncertainties. But still, I think it's important to have that vision for 3 to 5 years, without which growth is not possible.
Right. And you mentioned about not having a financials, right? So in that case, how is the percentage of equity determined in a investor-investee kind of a setup?
Have you been to a KR market to buy vegetables and
It's, we blink it, sir. No.
you blink it. Unfortunately, you can't blink it in investments. I hope there was a platform to do that.
Yeah.
Well, there are some models. Most of you would know that there are models. There is a discounted cash flow model which is obsolete, which we all started with. Two comparables. An investor will look at a comparable business and see how they are doing, what kind of valuation have they got, what kind of market cap do they have if they are a listed entity, and say they are so much revenue multiple or so much EBITDA multiple or so much PAT multiple.
Right.
Today it's all coming down to PAT multiple. Not too many investors care about revenue multiple. Even EBITDA multiple they don't care about, because depreciation is Subrishan sir will be able to throw more light on it. That's fudgeable. In your EBITDA, the depreciation part is fudgeable. So when you go to these pure play investors, they are talking about net PAT.
Right.
What was your net profit after tax, and what is a comparable business? How much multiple can I offer you? That is how you get value. And that valuation drives how much shareholding you want to dilute to how much shareholding the other party wants to get.
Right.
That's when you negotiate. And those negotiations are the tough ones, and you have to learn to negotiate that. You have to be skillful. Initially, we will always come back feeling, I have felt that, I think I gave away too much for the kind of money I raised, even VC money I raised. And even during the IPO, when you go and talk to anchor investors, retail investors, and so on and so forth, it's about hard. You have to drive a hard bargain on valuation versus shareholding, or how much you want to dilute. That's a lesson in itself. You need a financial analyst, a certified financial analyst, and investment banker around the table to stitch a full story. I can do a part of it because I went looking for money. You first have to find 10 anchor investors. And then you have to find institutional investors who are typically mutual funds and others. Then you have to go and do a roadshow to get retail investors. So you go to Ahmedabad, you go to Surat, you go to
Singapore,
and in Gujarat, Rajkot. We did a retail roadshow, and I went to Ahmedabad, Surat, and Rajkot. Rajkot has the maximum number of demat accounts for any one single city in the entire country. So there was this joke. One of the senior investors from Rajkot after my session came and said, "Look, in Rajkot, as soon as a child is born in the family, even before the naming ceremony, we will open a demat account." So. And then you have to work with institutional guys in Mumbai to retail guys in Surat, etc. That is negotiations,
right,
all the time, and you're challenged. Anything you say is challenged, and in one session of 45 minutes with an institutional investor, they can tell you how you contradicted yourself. In the first 5 minutes, you describe to them what your business is and how you plan to grow, how you plan to deliver returns, etc. And then in the last 10 minutes, they will ask a question and say you contradicted yourself.
Wow.
So very tricky to deal with them. I guess it only comes by practice.
So in that sense, you mentioned sometimes you feel you gave away more than you should. So what is that benchmark that the people should have? Because they, like you rightly said, they don't have a financial statement, right? They just started out. So what should they ask for when they ask for equity?
I don't know if there is anything that is accurate, precise, or absolutely correct. There's nothing like that. It's a band we have to operate in.
Right.
When you go to an investor, they will have a value in mind, a valuation they want to offer to you in mind, because they would have done their due diligence, background checks. They would have looked at your financials, similar companies, growth patterns, all of that. With that, they will have a value in mind. And we, as entrepreneurs who are seeking investment, will have a valuation in mind. So you pitch a valuation. It's a very amusing discussion, very tough it was. But now looking back, it's amusing because you walk into a room, there are 3 analysts and there's a CIO, Chief Investment Officer, sitting on the other side. The 3 of us sitting on this side. And you get 5-10 minutes to talk about your business. And the next question that is asked is, what is the valuation you are pitching at? Straight. So no beating around the bush. And you have to put a number. You have to say a number. If you don't, then they will politely ask you to leave.
Okay.
So it's about who blinks first.
Right.
If you are skillful, you make them blink first. And they pitch a valuation to you.
So for all the people who want to seek investment, that's the answer. So you go with a number and you hope that it aligns with whatever the person investor has in their mind.
And bargain.
Yeah, hopefully not. All right. So now we'll open the floor up for some questions. I think I've asked whatever I had in mind, sir. I just want one last question before we open, which is, I'm sure in this journey, there are more failures, like you mentioned, for both the investor and startups. In your journey, so what was the most tough thing that you faced with an investor? What challenge was there? And then how did you overcome it? Was there an exit that was provided, like you mentioned? And, how did you get back on track, which many also might face after getting an investment also?
Post-IPO, I don't know yet. It's too early. It's only 4 months.
You won't fail post-IPO. We all are there with you, sir. So that will always, our prayers and our things. But before reaching there.
Pre-IPO, I felt, we had a VC. I didn't get an angel investor. The first investment I got after I started the company was a VC. And they got a good exit. Thanks to 2 PEs who came in. One was an American PE firm and the other one was a Singapore hedge fund. And I feel I got shortchanged in the negotiations when I was trying to give them an exit. Or they were actually putting pressure. 7 years is a long time for an investor to stay invested in a business. Okay. So they were getting restless. And we were not in a position to give them an exit yet. So that was a hard bargain. They used that to undervalue our business, which meant we had to pay out a lot more than what I think was fair to give them an exit. So we were able to provide exit to both the PEs, and hence we got back to own the company 100%. Like we were a startup. But in that bargain, I think I got shortchanged. And we probably paid out a lot more, at least 20% more than what we should have. Now again, that boils down to bargaining, negotiation skills. So that's one. I regret that. I could have done better there.
Got it. Right. So
there's more to it, but I don't think we have the time.
No, like the moral for all of us is that no matter which size you are, you will have tough times once you take money in. And asking also is a challenge. Managing it also is a challenge. You will face tough times, but together with the team, you can overcome and continue that journey. So yes, we'll open up the floor for questions. Sambhav, anyone here for the mic?
I think it had become the news of the country for a very long time. One of the challenges in the past 7 or 8 years that I've been running an educational institution, at least around 1,200 to 1,300 students have passed out. One of the things that is happening in this city, and I think somebody like you can maybe solve it for all of us, is that I have students who have worked with a lot of TiE members over here. Some of them work in Bhaskar sir's company. Some of them have worked in Excelsoft. With Vinay also some of them have worked. In GRS also some of them have worked. Now, and with Adarsh also some of them have worked. Now, where we kind of find the challenges that the ecosystem in US and the countries outside, and even Ahmedabad, for example, is built by companies where they are working in. So say, for example, when a student joins a company, the company also has to nurture that student towards entrepreneurship. And that is one big challenge that is moving people away from the town. So for example, if a student is passing out at the age of 19, he wants to work at Excelsoft for the next 10, 12 years, hoping that Excelsoft from employee-employer relationship will convert to an investor-investee relationship. And I think that is one shortfall that is holding the city back, because we don't hear such stories. And I would like to understand, what companies can do, what people like you can do, and I think that will help a lot of students and the companies that are there in Mysore.
Yeah, I think we don't have the entrepreneurship mindset and culture. If there is an idea, one of your colleagues comes up with, will you invest and help them do a startup and nurture them so that you see another company growing? We don't do that. We should do that. If the ecosystem has to become stronger, we have to not only invest in proposals we get, but we have to invest in talent who we have nurtured internally. I think that's an absolute thing which is lacking. Including in my own mindset, I don't think I've encouraged entrepreneurs, if that's the right pronunciation. And yes, that's a good point, and it's a good point for me to take home and think about it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Sudhanva sir, wonderful thoughts, and you have been a role model for many of us in Mysore to look up to. My one question I had...
My bald head.
Wonderful. Yeah. One question I had is, when you evaluate startups as an angel investor, what kind of benchmark do you look at? Of course, financial returns benchmark, risk benchmark, market share benchmark, competition benchmark. Probably there are many angles you look at. For you personally, what do you look at as kind of benchmarks that these companies should do better on?
Well, one is I prefer to invest in companies who are in the neighborhood. For two reasons. One is a selfish reason that there is proximity to the company you have invested in. Mysore, Bangalore, whatever, this belt. And you can meet often, which is good, both for me as an investor and for the company I have invested in. And two is, I think there is a larger purpose for us to, and for TiE platform, to nurture more entrepreneurs in this region, right? So even if we can incrementally contribute to that, that will be satisfying at the end of the day. I've got so much from Mysore. And so I've limited my investment mostly. I've done some investments in Bangalore, but Mysuru, Bangalore region. So that would be my preference. First thing I would look for is the proximity. And then all the other things, the viability, the financials, the reliability, the projections, etc.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir?
You know, I run a circle and what
Yes.
I do. Interestingly, one of the startups told me, "Sir, why are you calling them angel investors? They seem to be devil investors to me." Nobody is looking like an angel when we sit across. They ask us such tough questions. The joke apart, what is a more clinching fact for you? Is it the founder and the integrity and the conviction and the commitment that comes along with the founder, or the idea that is being projected to you, the scalability of the idea, the fact that it can actually make money, etc.? So is there a balance that you see in the two, or what tilts the favor when you decide to make an investment?
Money first. Sorry,
Yeah.
to be blunt. Money also is important. You have to invest to get a return.
Correct.
But before you get to that, in my case, even if before I get to evaluating if they can deliver the kind of returns that I'm
You're
looking for, what you said earlier is very important. It's about their, do I trust them? Do they seem reliable? What background do they come from? If this is already their second venture or third venture, how did they exit the first investor, etc. So those softer aspects, not softer actually, they are also very important. They come first. But just that, without thinking about real return on the investment, will not be a wise thing to do for an investor, and it is not correct even for the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur wants an investor who's serious about wanting a return on his investment so that they perform well. Otherwise, there is no pressure to perform. Okay. When there is no pressure to perform, they are not going to do as well as they would otherwise do.
I get you. So my point was, if you have a supremely able founder that you really like, but the returns could be average, versus an average founder who's got an idea where the returns could be phenomenal, what tilts the scale?
The first
one. Okay.
There Mr. Ravi had his hand up a while back.
Ravi question andre bhaya agತ್ತೆ.
Sir, I also look up to you for the same reason.
we are all in the same boat.
All in the same boat. Yeah. So Bhavish Agarwal, who perhaps has built the highest number of unicorns, if not in India, maybe even across the world, 3 unicorns he has built, and he says, if capital is your only strategy, then you don't have a strategy. Okay. So, while, that's wisdom, what is happening is that today, I mean, as an angel investor myself, I see that a whole lot of people seem to have capital and recapitalizing and whatnot as their only strategy. Okay. Therefore, the first point that you said, what the quality that you look for in an entrepreneur and the enterprise, the one of governance, I think that is super important. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಗಾದೆ ಇದೆ, ಸಂತೆ ಸೇರಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಗಂಟು ಕಳ್ಳರು ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ. ಇವತ್ತು ಗಂಟು ಕಳ್ಳರು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಹೂ try to defraud. I mean, like Ram was trying to say, I'll actually say that the devil is often on the other side. Okay. So, I mean, how do we play the devil's advocate to the devil in such a way that, investors don't get defrauded? What are the red flags that you look for in order to ensure good governance?
They don't pick up your calls. first signal.
But when they seek,
Yeah.
I think they pick up your
They will call. But when you want to call them to find out what the progress is, or I get a notice, these are all the red flags which talks about non-performance and non-compliance. So, you don't want to be investing in somebody who's running away from you all the time.
Yeah.
So, you catch them at an event, they don't want to make eye contact.
Yeah.
You call them, they will not pick up.
Yeah.
You go visiting them, you will only be able to go to the front office, not meet the entrepreneur or the founder. So these are all clear signals that your investment is not working.
Yeah. At a business level, I mean, this is more at a personal kind of a level.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Business level numbers, right?
Yeah.
Or the quality of numbers. We talk about revenues, but there's also this big thing about quality of revenues. You may hit the revenue target, and then the next thing the investor will ask is, what is the quality of the revenues? What kind of companies do you work with? Are you innovating, and are you adding value to your customer? If a company who is claiming to do B2B cannot show that the value transgresses your immediate customer and reaches end users, if you can't measure that and if you cannot demonstrate that, then again, that is something an investor should be worried about. I'm not sure if it was a direct answer to your question, but hopefully, yeah.
Narendra started the first IT company in Mysuru in 97. Earlier, I was involved in the brick and mortar industry also. The major complaint of most of the investors or big investors or the industries which closed down here was the work culture, the rhythm of the city. We are a very slow city, and only I used to counter them saying Javagal Srinath was from Mysore. And the second one was regarding connectivity, which Sudhanva knows that we all fought for and all that. What I wanted from you was there any resistance, was there any cultural complaint from all the investors saying after all it's Mysore, very slow city, ecosystem is yet to develop. It's more cultural city than work culture city, because most of the institutions here have scams, have no governance manuals. So how much of ethical part were you to insist when you went for brand building and your investment support is what I wanted to ask you.
Mysuru is known, as you rightly said, known as a tourist destination, cultural hub and all of that. So when you go to these big funds in Mumbai, and you do get asked, you are from Mysore and you want to raise so much money, and do you have access to talent, or do you have the entrepreneurial culture in Mysore? They do ask those questions, but they ask because they have to ask, and they're waiting you to respond positively. But I think gone are those days where it is a serious issue. So as long as you can, in a few minutes, explain that Mysore is also growing, and there are organizations like TiE and CII in Mysore, and there are many entrepreneurs in Mysore now, and it is it's something which is easily explainable. Not maybe 10 years ago it was difficult, not anymore.
I remember Azim Premji asking me that there are no managers available. And if you want to get managers from Bangalore, they were asking 30% more. So that was the situation then. And Tata's TCS never came to Mysore because Infosys already had a lot of presence and they had command on the resources or the human resources. So I'm sure those clouds have all gone from Mysore.
Going away.
Hello, sir. I'm Anand,
Yeah,
as you may
of
know.
course.
Couple of very basic questions, sir. Everyone says execution is everything. Okay. I want to hear from you, how important is the idea? Okay. Will you invest in sectors or ideas that are very basic, such as an educational institution or a cafe that's been running for several hundreds of years, and execution is everything? Or the idea, the sector, whether it is a in-demand sector matters to you? That is one quick question. The other thing is, how important is domain expertise? Okay, I have a certain expertise for 20 years. Now, if I want to start something totally different, how is that viewed in the eyes of an investor?
Yeah. Domain comes first. Tech expertise, even if they don't have, we can always provide the tech expertise from the backend, from India. But the domain and the local business environment knowledge is very important. Yeah. So good question. Domain, I would pick domain versus anything else.
What about idea versus execution?
Execution. There are so many ideas that are floating around, even in just that one domain we operate in. There are lots of ideas. If somebody can prove that they can execute with that idea and they have a clear plan to execute, then you can back such companies. But if it is idea only, they have to come back with a plan to execute. And I think that's also where angel investors come in, right? They come in as angels. They trust you, they trust your idea, and they trust your capabilities. And then if you do well, then it's about your financials, your past performance, your future growth plans, etc.
About, suppose if I go for my first investment and the valuation game which you said that you have to bargain well, but suppose the investor asks for a big chunk like 25-30%, and at the start point I'm hesitant to give away such a big chunk. So from an investee point of view, like suppose from my point of view, what would be a better choice, like to give away this chunk and get some few connections in the starting point, or rather I just keep this big chunk and work for some point of time and then go again for the investment?
Tough question. Good question. Tough question. See, my advice would be give right in the beginning, if you're seeking your first investment, give as little as you can, because you will still want to raise more capital, and you don't want to dilute a whole lot. You still want to retain control of your business as long as you want to. So I think you have to be stingy about how much you want to dilute for your very first investment. And again, it'll boil down to how well you can bargain, how well you can negotiate.
You should send your mother, I think.
So, congratulations for your IPO. And I have a simple question, yet an important one. What are the first principles of negotiation that you consider after so much of experience and the IPO?
Know your strengths. Very important that you know your strengths. Be truthful, because they will always double check, triple check. So if you make a false statement, they would have done enough research to catch you. Promise less, perform more. Everybody wants to do that. You don't want to over-promise and under-perform. It has to be the other way. These are the three things I would recommend. That gives you a better position in negotiating. When you are truthful, you are stronger. When you are honest about your past, you are stronger. They would have all double checked. When you are not too aggressive. You don't have to be too aggressive. I don't want to go in and tell an investor that I'll double my business every year or every 2 years or something like that. Such generic statements, such statements are not appreciated by an investor. Something reasonable, fair, which you can properly justify is what is acceptable. Keep these three things in mind.
So my question is that being an engineering student, we have a lot of ideas and we focus on the product more, but we forget about the finances of it. So what do you think, what is the effort that we have to put on financial literacy over the ideas that are coming up now?
If you want to become an entrepreneur, that's an extra mile you have to go to understand how the world of investments work and how the world of entrepreneurship works. So being part of forums like TiE on a regular basis will help you understand more and more about the other aspects of, your core engineering skills anyway you will get. So the business skills, including the financial skills, you will learn from forums like TiE. But you will have to do that extra to get involved, to be there at every event.
I am Satyajit from MIT. So my simple question is, boring businesses make most amount of money. So if I am about to say I'm a pre-final year student, and for students like us, we tend to get many ideas. But in order to convert them into like proper working models, we can just build websites through AI very easily. But the hard part is getting going live and getting the cloud service, which is like we want some investors to it. So most of the ideas would be already taken over because the creativity is gone now after coming the AI. So what are your take on that, and how can if you are in in our shoes, what would have you done to do that?
Well, on AI, Srini will be better person to answer, but people said AI will replace software developers and will reduce the size of the organizations. In my limited experience, we have not been able to reduce it. It's about increasing the efficiency of each individual in the organization, so you can do more. You can do more business, and you can be more efficient as an organization. Specifically with respect to AI, you implement AI internally to automate your business processes. You build AI native products and applications which you sell to your customers, or go to a customer with a proposition where you can bring in a AI element or AI module into what they already do. Those are all, it doesn't mean you have to cut down workforce. So AI is all about efficiency. If that answers your question on AI. What was the other question? Nothing is boring. It's in your hands to make it exciting. If you like an idea, you won't be bored about it. If you have the conviction, you won't get into boredom. You will only get much more excited. You see others doing, you see more competition, you will get more excited. You want to outperform your competition. That's what entrepreneurship is all about. If there is no competition, there is no business. You are in the wrong business. If I say I'm in a business where I have very few competitors or no competitors, then there is actually no business to be done in that sector. So you should expect competition. If you believe in your idea, it will not be boring. You will get excited. You will want to beat your competition. You want to grow your business. So I don't think there is any space for boredom.
So my question is, of course, related to communication. You use the word conviction many times in this discussion, and trust as well. As a founder who probably does not have a great track record and is just starting off, and he meets you,
how does he or she communicate or display, be able to win your trust and show that he or she has conviction in those 10 minutes conversation? How can that happen? That's my first question. How do you think? So if you can give 3 things we should do or 3 things we should not do. That's number one. My second question is, do you think the time has arrived for investors to also invest in a personal brand? So let's say there is somebody who's doing really well on Instagram and has ideas on how to use that presence to be able to build a business around it. But of course, the business is dependent on that person. Would you still consider investing in that kind of a person? So one on communication and the second on personal brand investing.
Investors like humble, simple people. So humility is important. When you walk in, all this is my more recent experience of going and meeting investors in Mumbai. You meet 5 in a day. They give you 45 minutes or 1 hour. They are the big investors are egoistic. Can you move more? I want to see him. Yeah. Big investors, successful investors come with ego. You have to expect that. On the other side, they expect you to be simple, humble, truthful, and realistic. When you communicate, you have to communicate keeping this ethos in mind, and that will win their heart more than going and beating your drums, chest thumping and all that doesn't work with most investors.
Sudhanva sir, congratulations on the IPO. It's a proud moment for Mysuru indeed. Here and here. A lot of successful startups have issues with cash flow prudence and managing cash flows. Having invested in 21 companies, and I'm sure you're a very empathetic person, do you draw the line when companies come back and have bad cash flow prudence? And how do you put guardrails when you're investing in multiple companies? How do you prioritize?
I have not been good at that. I have not been good at drawing those lines. So you always try to exert a little more than what you, in my case, what I had budgeted for. You try and push that limit a little bit more with a fond hope that it will turn the business around. There are people who are very disciplined about cash flows. For my own business, I think now we know how to manage cash flows. We have a team, good finance team and all of that. But when it comes to the quality of cash flow management that I see in companies I have invested in, may not be very good, in which case you backstop. So if you have agreed to invest $1 million, let's say, and then they have a little bit of a cash flow problem or a receivables problem, which leads to payables problem, then you try to accommodate that a little bit more. But then you can accommodate once, twice, but you can't do it at the cost of losing an opportunity where your investment is better utilized. So be a little bit accommodative, but draw a line at the right time and look for other opportunities is what I would say.
Right. Thank you everyone for those questions. I'm sure it was truly an enlightening session, sir. So to draw this to a conclusion, yes, making some alignment with the topic, yes, the angel investor founder relationship truly depends beyond cash, as he mentioned, looks for more of an execution prowess, looks for the character of the person, the trustability of that person. From the investor side and from the investee side, be honest, be transparent, be humble, be simple, and don't have any red flags in terms of. I've had beige flags all my life. In everything in life, I've been at the topper, but in this one, throughout my investee journey, I've been close to red more than green. Thanks to his guidance and mentorship, I've at least come a little towards green. So, sir, any final thoughts you want to share in one sentence, and then we can close this session?
No, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I think after we did the IPO, this is the first time I've even spoken about it. And thank you for that.
So on that note, a huge round of applause and standing ovation for the IPO. Probably the only first generation entrepreneur who started in Mysore, scaled in Mysore, became an IPO in Mysore. I don't think there's any other example. So, oh, that's also first generation.
South India paper mills.
I'll add then first entrepreneur in the ed tech sector.
The first in Hootagalli.
Thank you so much, sir. Please take your seats. I'll pass it on to Rajini again. Thank you, sir, for the
Board members to join in giving the token of love to Sir, please.